Mayor Fess,
Here.
Commissioner Boat,
Here.
Commissioner Martin,
Here.
Commissioner Terry,
Here.
Commissioner Wilson.
Here.
I just want to mention before we move to our Resident Pride Award that we are not being broadcast live tonight due to a technical problem, but we will be rebroadcast starting tomorrow on Channel 5, so you can catch that tomorrow. We will have the broadcast, but it's just not live tonight. For the first item tonight, we're going to be presenting our Resident Pride Awards. These are awards that are awarded quarterly to those residents who have been nominated to receive the award, and it's for residences which have gone over and above their to make their property look nice and to keep pride in our community. And the first one, we're going to have some pictures up. The first one this evening would be Nancy Bergman, and Nancy lives at 1009 Nicklin Avenue. And with us tonight, we have our second winners, and that's Chad and Lisa Emery. Do you want to come up, Chad and Lisa, as we put the picture of your house up? Don't be nervous. Okay, Chad and Lisa, let's show Chad and Lisa's home. Chad and Lisa live at 1105 Washington Avenue, and you can see it's a lovely home, and we appreciate all that you do to help the community, and thank you for being here tonight. We really appreciate that.
Thank you for the honor, too. It's Chad takes a lot of pride in making sure that our home looks nice on the outside, so.
Well, you do a great,
A lot of the work, so.
do a great job, Chad, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mhm. Next, we have the home, picture of the home of Bob and Mindy Hodge, and they live at 302 Linden Avenue. Another lovely home. Karen Long, who lives at 719 North College Street. And Scott and Ginger Ponciella. Ponciella? Okay, thanks, Commissioners. And the Ponciellas live at 1608 Broadway Street. So we want to send out our congratulations and our thank yous to all our Resident Pride winners. And if you have someone that you know that deserves this award, there will be a sign placed in each award winner's front yard for, I think, a month, or is that right?
They were placed today.
They put them out there today, and so as you drive by, you can see who our Resident Pride winners for this quarter are. If there's someone you'd like to nominate in your neighborhood or your family and would like to do that, you can do that by calling the city manager's office. And I think there's a form that you fill out.
Yeah, we could help them with that, yeah.
Okay, so anyone, just call the city manager's office at 778-2051. Thank you, and now we'll move to our regular agenda, which starts with the consent agenda, and that would include the approval of the minutes from the July 10th Piqua City Work Session and the July 15th Commission meeting.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify stating aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The consent agenda has been approved. Moving on to new business, we have ordinance number 9-14, and this would be a first reading.
An ordinance to levy special assessments to pay the cost of demolition assessments for the terms of Moving Ohio Forward grant agreement.
Assistant City Manager Justin Summer will provide the staff report.
This ordinance would allow us to submit to the county auditor's office for assessments as that are the result of the Moving Ohio Forward grant agreement. Moving Ohio Forward funds provided funding for demolition of nuisance properties within the city. This is an agreement that we have through the Miami County Board of Commissioners. The assessments for this year are for 5 properties that were demolished in an amount totaling $33,309.66.
Thank you, Justin. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Justin? Does anyone in the audience wish to speak to this ordinance?
The $33,000 is the total cost, or that's the assessed cost to the homeowners?
That's the 50%.
That's the 50%. Okay. Were the homeowners on board about this before we did it?
All of these demolitions were involuntary demolitions.
They were involuntary?
Correct.
So what does that mean?
Well, that means the property owner didn't participate, but we had the authority to take them down because of the violations. And then they are assessed 50% of that cost. The other 50% comes from the Ohio Move Forward.
From the grant. But they do know that they are responsible for 50% of this.
That is correct.
Okay, so it'll go on the tax duplicate, and then, does it have to be paid right away? Can it be paid over
Probably never.
5 or
it'd
10
probably
years,
never
or
be
how do you
paid.
do that?
In most cases.
That's what I'm wondering.
In most cases, these are properties that probably will end up in sale because of this.
So, by assessing the properties, we fulfill our part of the grant.
Request,
That's correct, and when
Yeah.
the, when the
Correct.
properties do sell at some point, then we would recover our costs.
Then
from
that
the
would have to
assessments.
come at the
Yes.
cost.
Unfortunately, what happens is, sometimes that's a long period of time. We have to wait before we can collect the funding.
Right. But then too, you're selling an unimproved property, so we might not ever get that money back.
Well, it depends. I mean, in some cases, that might, the value of the property may be so low, it's just land now, so.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, so, depending on whether they want the property or not, or whether, one of the things that we're looking at is the possibility of land utilization, which is authorized under the code, which, if the properties aren't sold for the, and that we're owed money, that the property would revert to the city.
Most of these are abandoned properties, aren't they? Or properties
Yeah.
that are just in such bad shape.
Well, they're
Yeah, where the
abandoned now.
owners are gone and, yeah, or
Yeah.
whatever, so.
Okay.
To
So
alleviate-
how does the grant program, where, the Moving Ohio Forward program, how do they look at that if we are not able to collect on our part of the,
Well, part of the whole program,
Costs.
the whole program was set up because so many cities across the state have difficulty with this, of
Right.
having properties that are in terrible, and all these were structurally probably unsafe and not able to be rehabbed and needed to come down. I think that was part of our issue with selecting these properties, is
Right,
they
yeah.
couldn't be really structurally fixed. So if the property owner walks away from it and leaves those properties just sitting there, one of the things that the state did was, by making the funding available to cities across the state, enabled us to take down those type of properties who we felt were in the worst shape. I think over the time period, I believe we've had 11
That is
we've done.
correct. Correct.
Over the past 2 years since that money. Now, this was one-time monies, so this is not annual money, so
Okay,
we
so-
had to take advantage of what was
so we
available.
wouldn't be getting in a pool another time and they look at the record of our
Unfortunately-
collections and say, maybe not?
No,
There's
the-
not
the-
there's not a continuation or continual
Okay.
funding source for that. We hope that they may do it again, and I
Yeah.
think this came from settlement money on some other things that.
That's
they were able to
correct.
get.
And the goal of the Moving Ohio Forward grant was to eliminate blight.
Okay.
But Justin, I think what Commissioner Terry was asking is, do the grantors care if the city ever gets their money back? Or does
The-
that have no bearing on it?
The goal of the program was to eliminate blighted properties.
So they don't
the-
really
so
care if we
they-
get our money back?
Well, it's actually grant money.
Yeah, all we have to do is,
The money was provided to us to do the work.
okay.
So the city itself is not
I think
out
the law
money
director,
from that standpoint.
Right. Well, I was just trying to clear that up in my own head. I
Now,
wasn't
most
sure.
likely, they might be on the
how.
next list, which are
Yeah.
assessments that haven't been paid and things like that, which Ms. Welker will share with you in a moment. But
Right.
that's this time of the year when we try to get those into the assessment program.
Exactly
I
right.
think the law
Okay.
director wants to speak to this too.
To alleviate some of your concern, although the property owners aren't necessarily participating voluntarily in this, they are all given legal notice with an adequate time period. So we don't give the notice Monday and take down Tuesday. There's a bidding process, there's a legal notice period, there's a waiting period. So all of those requirements are followed before the property is taken down. And your original question was, are they all being assessed 33,000? That's the total of these properties.
Yeah, I
They're being
understand that.
assessed the individual amount.
Right, okay, but I just didn't know whether that was the total that was spent or whether that was the 50%, the total.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Anyone else?
Yeah, the timeline is September 2nd. Is that a good date? It seems kind of fast to me. Are they going to make that?
The
Or not?
September 2nd? This is the time we have to file with the
Oh,
county.
just to file? Okay,
Yes,
so
correct.
when would they be coming
They're gone.
down?
Oh, they're down.
They're,
gone.
they're already down.
Oh, they're already down?
Yes, they're
Yes.
already.
Okay.
Yeah,
These
this
have all
is-
been demolished, and
I
this is
got
the
you.
time of the year that the county allows
Okay.
us to submit them for the assessments.
Okay, I was confused on that. Okay.
Anyone else? With no objection, this will stand as a first reading of ordinance 9-14. Moving on to ordinance number 10-14.
An ordinance to levy special assessments to pay for the cost of nuisance abatement assessment.
Health and Sanitation Director Amy Welker will provide your staff report for this one.
Thank you. This is an annual process that we go through every year. Throughout the year, we have properties that do not maintain either their grass or trash or something on the property that causes a complaint to come into our department. We then investigate that complaint and will issue legal notice to the property owner to correct any violations. If they fail to do that, we then hire contractors to correct the violation and then bill the property owner for that cost, along with administrative fees and penalties. And at this time, the county auditor allows us to then assess that cost back onto the property taxes. So this is the assessments for this year that total just over $43,000 in assessments. And many of the properties that we discussed in the last ordinance are either on this list or were previously on this list, and that's kind of where we targeted some of those properties for the Moving Ohio Forward because we had been maintaining them for quite a long period of time. They're vacant and not being maintained.
Amy, I have a question for you. I was going to ask you before the meeting, but I know you probably know the answer. So I noticed on the assessments that one of the owners that was listed there has passed away like 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it still on there?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of times when someone passes away and they don't have a will or, there'd been no estate planning, it takes quite a long time for anything to happen with the property. Either it's tied up in probate because family is disputing over the property, or no one has filed, for probate to receive the property. So it is still listed as that property owner as the owner. And until the ownership changes, we legally have to continue to provide notice to the owner of record, who may be deceased, but there's really no other option for us in that case.
Okay, that clears it up. I was wondering, because I know there's some children out there, but I noticed that the property owner has been gone for a long time.
Yeah.
So, other questions for Amy?
These folks that own these properties, will they have until the September 8th date to make this current so that it does not
Yes,
be,
correct.
assessed to them?
We'll accept payment up until the Friday before, which is the 5th, because the assessments have to be to the auditor's office on the 8th. So if anyone on the list would like to make payment, they can come into our office and do that up until September the 5th. At that time, it would be turned over then for assessment. And we have actually had a few people come in since this list was prepared for the agenda. So on the second reading, you'll see some of them have been paid and will be deleted from the list.
Okay. I noticed, I know we do this every year, but historically, is there a decent percentage of people that come in and pay up, or Is it mostly assessed?
Mostly assessed. Yeah, because at this point, they've already had received notice multiple times, either, to do the work, and then after the work was done, they received notice of the billing, they received a follow-up reminder about the billing. So typically, it's abandoned properties, and the owner either isn't able, doesn't care, whatever the case may be, they're typically not going to pay at this point.
If a property has gone into foreclosure, does it still remain the responsibility of the property owner to maintain that property?
Well, it's whoever's listed as the legal owner at the time when we issue the notice. Now, our assessments and penalties do remain with the property. So even if the property were to sell, we encourage everyone that's looking at buying a property, particularly one that has been distressed or in a foreclosure, to check with the city for any outstanding debts, either through us and utility office, all of those things. So we try to encourage, most of the realtors know to contact us, the title companies know, but sometimes some of the properties can fall through the cracks if it doesn't go through a typical lending process or something of that nature. But we encourage anyone to check with us before they purchase a property.
Thank you, Amy. Any other questions, commissioners?
Well, since most of this is grass related, could you tell us again the height we're allowed before we have a problem?
Yeah, it's 8 inches, so anything over that would be considered out of compliance, and a notice would be received then.
So if you cut your grass and pick up your trash, you'll never be on this list, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah, okay.
Well, and I counted 183 instances, mostly grass, a couple trash removal, and many are multiple cuttings.
Right.
So obviously the owners are just looking the other way and not even caring about being notified of the long grass.
Right. A lot of the properties we take care of the entire summer, so it becomes, a burden on us and the community and the neighbors, and so, we do encourage people to, if you own a property, please take care of it.
Well, I was surprised at a couple of the names on the list.
Well, it really seems like a no-brainer to me. If you own a property, you get out and keep maintenance done on it. And I just think it's so sad that this is causing a blight in those neighborhoods. So, when you have the Pride winners, the residents' Pride winners coming and if their house is across the street from one of these long grass places, that's a terribly unfair thing to be doing to them. And how lucky these people would be to have beautiful property across the street to look at. I just think, I don't know if, would it be feasible to even publish those names?
Well, the list will be published on our website as part of the agenda, and plus we always post it on our the health department website, so that if someone were looking to purchase a property, they can always reference this list as a check, and it's available.
Yeah. It just seems like a rotten thing they're doing to our community.
Mm-hmm. I think they should be published in the Piqua Daily Call.
Well, most of the names on that list have been on that list for the last 3 or 4 years.
I agree.
And they're never going to get paid.
Mm-hmm. Which is a shame. Anything else? Anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this ordinance, for or against?
First reading.
If not, that will stand as the first reading of ordinance number 10-14. Next, we have resolution number R8614.
A resolution awarding a contract to Innovative Software Services an amount not to exceed $75,000 for a new municipal income tax information system, including data conversion, training, implementation, and first-year annual maintenance fees.
Call on Assistant City Manager Cindy Holtzapfel for the staff report.
Thank you. We are requesting your approval tonight for a new municipal income tax software system, as our current technology and system are approaching 30 years old. Requests for proposals on the system went out in March of this year, and we received 3 replies in April. Since then, there have been both on-site and off-site demonstrations of the system, an extensive evaluation and reference checks for each system, and the implementation team has selected for recommendation to you Innovative Software Services as the best fit for the current and future needs of the city. Their software is very user-friendly, includes document imaging, has a great program for letter generation and the tracking of those letters, and offers a wide variety of customizable options. There are several area communities that are currently using the software, and they are quite satisfied with both the product and the support of the product. And I would also like to add that it's very important that some of the things that the software offers would be critical if House Bill 5 is implemented, because we would have to be in compliance within a very short period of time of that approval of that legislation. So we're looking to move forward. If you would approve this tonight, it would allow the initial setup to begin as soon as the vendor can place us in their timeline. And we're in hopes that with the implementation and conversion, that the software system would be available for our use with the 2015 tax season, sometime around the January to early February timeframe. Here tonight to help answer any questions that you might have is Lisa Cavender, our income tax manager, who will be spearheading the conversion and implementation along with the help of the other income tax staff, and Rick Carpenter, who is the president of Innovative Software Services.
Thank you, Cindy. Let's hope House Bill 5 does not get approved. That would be terrible. But anyway, Rick, welcome. And would you like to address the commission in any way? You want to come forward, please? Come on. Yeah. We'll introduce you to the community, okay? Rick drove down from Michigan to be here tonight, so
Right.
I thought at least we should get his face on television.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate your giving us this opportunity to look at your software, and I'm sure that Cindy and the rest of the staff have done a lot of work and have asked you lots of questions, as you said before the meeting. What makes your software different than the others?
Mainly the biggest difference is when we developed it, we started developing it back in 1995, and we did develop it starting with a Windows platform. And the biggest thing that we did when we were developing the software is that we wanted to set it up so that it was configurable for everybody. So we don't have just with all of our sites, which we have about 60 some odd sites on the income tax software, we don't have individual pieces of software out there. It's all the same piece of software, but it can be configured for each site. So that's probably one of the biggest key factors for selling it to the cities. And as Cindy had said, the other part is the fact that forms design, it can be set up to handle any type of forms. And yes, if HB 5 goes through, it'll handle everything with that. We already handle resident, non-resident types of filings. The other thing is, of course, letter generation, like she mentioned. We have a part of the software is called Watcher. So through the studies, we come down, understand the entire process flow of the paperwork here, talking about bills going out and penalties and interest and things. And the system, once we set this all up, will automatically do that for the city. It will watch it for you. So letter generation is huge in there. Document imaging is out there so they can pull things up. There's there's a whole array, and I could talk for hours about it. But if there's any particular questions at all, I'd love to address them.
I got some. Are there any modifications that we're going to have to pay you to make on this software to make it work for us?
No, that's the one thing, that's the other thing that we like to do is the price that we've given you is a not to exceed price also. Even though we feel we have everything, we've learned throughout the years that we don't have everything. There will always be something in a city that something is slightly different. So with that in mind, we know coming in that we're going to have to possibly modify the software. We will do that, but we will make it configurable so that other cities may or may not want to use that particular option that we'll put into the software. But we will do everything prior to going live, and then our service and support includes unlimited telephone support, training, little mini training sessions to keep everybody up to speed on it, which is a win-win situation for us. And then in addition, if there's any future enhancements to the software that you need, if HB5 comes through and there's something that has to be done, that's all included. So you never, beyond the service and support, you'll never have to pay for any software or any updates at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, now I got another question, but I don't know that this should be directed at you. The Springbrook software, I thought it was supposed to take care of this because we were supposed to be off of the S400 years ago because we bought the Springbrook software. So why are we still using the S400?
Well, because when we purchased the Springbrook software, it did not include an income tax package. We knew that going in. Phase 1 with Springbrook was going to be the financial package as well as utility billing. We were moving on to Phase 2, we thought, prior to this, but when House Bill 5 came up, we were concerned about what changes we would have to make, so we did back off the initial schedule to go into Phase 2 until earlier this year, when we knew that they were not going to be moving forward with probably anything throughout this year, and we wanted to make the change as early as we could into next year. We are on the AS400, but only for income tax. Nothing else is on.
I remember we discussed that when we did that contract, John, that the income tax would not be included.
Actually, one of the software providers that replied to this was actually asked to provide through the Springbrook software, but we didn't want to analyze it with just that being a separate system. We wanted Springbrook to provide as much as it could up front for finance and UBO, and then address the income tax.
Yeah, but we were told when we went to Springbrook we would be off of the S400. And now it sounds like that didn't happen. So it would sound like somebody misled commission.
We would be off of the AS400 for finance and UBO.
No, because the big thing was nobody wanted to have the S400 around because it was an antique. This was the whole big push on getting Springbrook was, oh, the S400 will be gone. Well, now it's however many years later and find out, well, we're still using the AS400 to do stuff.
Well, part of the concern with the AS400 is that you can't get replacement parts. And if it goes down, which the AS400 actually did go down earlier this year.
You can buy a new server. They still make AS400 compatible servers.
But the cost of that server would probably have exceeded what this new system will have to provide, because currently our server will be able to handle the this income tax software, so it wouldn't require any hardware requirements. We're only purchasing the software.
So does this run on the S400 or will this run on a Windows platform?
It will run in a Windows platform.
And then will this take us completely off of the S400?
Yes, this will.
And that'll be when?
Well, we're hoping that it'll be implemented by early 2015. It has about a 3 to 4 month period, and until we get into income tax actually preparing the returns through the system, which W-2s aren't issued until the latter part of January, we won't be able to thoroughly test the system.
Okay, is there any way to fool the system and run false W-2s through it to verify if it can do what it says it can do?
Sure, we'll be doing that throughout the whole implementation process. We'll be doing that as part of the testing parameter. But in terms of going live, we don't plan on using the income tax system in the AS400. We plan on using this for next year's filing.
All right.
Anything else, Commissioners? Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against this? Thank you very much, Rick. We
Thanks a lot.
appreciate your being
All
here.
right, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
I would move to accept Resolution R 86-14.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution number R-86-14. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Martin,
Nay.
Mayor Fess,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Commissioner Terry.
Aye.
Resolution number R-86-14 has passed on a 4-to-1 vote. Moving on, resolution number R-87-14.
A resolution appointing one member to the Friends of Piqua Parks Board of Trustees.
A couple of years ago, we had a group of citizens who formed the Friends of Piqua Parks and filed for their nonprofit status with the IRS. Unfortunately, that took quite some time to get approved, and just recently, IRS approved their nonprofit status. So the organization has proceeded with the formation of a board of trustees. The bylaws of the Friends of the Piqua Parks requires that they have a 9-member board. One of the members is a city commission member, so as a representative. I recently sent you information asking for who would like to participate, and Commissioner Vogt indicated that he would like to participate. So this resolution appoints Commissioner Vogt to the Friends of the Piqua Parks Board trustees with the term to expire December 31st, 2015.
Thank you. Is there any questions on this resolution? Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against it? If not, could I have a motion to adopt?
I'll move to adopt Resolution R-87-14.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution number R-87-14. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Mayor Fess,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
I'm going to abstain.
Commissioner Martin,
Aye.
Commissioner Terry,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Resolution number R-87-14 has been adopted on a vote of 4 with 1 abstention. Resolution number R-86-14.
A resolution authorizing the sale of city-owned real estate.
I'll call on Mr. Summer again.
Thank you, Mr. Huff. This resolution would authorize the sale of city-owned property that is adjacent to the American Legion. Back in June, the American Legion approached the city with their interest in this property. The property is bordered by what is now the bike path, Roosevelt Avenue, Downing Street, and then the alleyway and the parking lot, or the American Legion, to the north. So those are the boundaries of the property. You should have a map included in your packet as well that outlines the property that would be acquired. This is former rail property that the city had acquired. The property no longer has use for us as the city, nor does it have public use. So this is a property, again, that we are simply mowing to maintain. So the sale of the property would allow the American Legion to move forward with some of their plans. Mr. Gary Felver is here to answer any questions that you may have related to that. The sale price is determined by fair market value according to the valuation from the county auditor's office, which amounts to $18,761.
Thank you, Justin. Gary, did you have anything you wanted? Commissioners, do you have any questions for Gary? If not.
Yeah, this is just part of our improvements. As you've seen, we've already raised 2 houses to the west of the post and made grass area. And next thing, we'd like to enlarge our parking area on the south side of the building. That's the main reason we wanted to purchase this. And we were only going to go up to Campbell Street, and then some of the members asked why don't we go clear to Roosevelt. And so that's what we proceeded with. we have no interest in doing anything immediately with that property except keep it mowed. The next thing is a parking lot, and hopefully in addition to the building, if we can get the funds together. And then that property would be the last thing that we'd work on. So it's going to be a few years till we do anything with it.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Gary, just
for
to,
Gary?
you might want to point out, I believe it's the intent of the Legion to maintain the helipad there
Oh,
on
yeah.
site
Yes,
that could
yeah,
be
there's
utilized
nothing to
without
be done with that.
eliminating that.
Correct.
And that's when we call in a helicopter in a crisis situation when somebody needs to be taken to a Dayton hospital. And I had questions about that too, as to whether that would continue to be
Yes, it will.
the site.
And we've already had the alley where they're no longer being used, and that's going to help with that traffic flow through there for when the helicopter lands also.
Okay, good. Well,
Sycamore Street and the bike path?
Sycamore Street no longer exists. It's actually, that's where the bike path was, yes.
Which really, in the little south,
Yeah, a little south
little
of it,
south,
yes.
there's a little house there that has I think a Sycamore address.
I don't think that railroad, the brick road actually has a name. I think everybody call it Railroad Street, but
Okay, because I thought your property, the property you were buying was supposed to go all the way almost to the bike path. And it doesn't look like
there's-
it on here.
there's actually this
easement in there.
cement curb. It runs clear along the bike path.
Mhm.
We're supposed to get about 5 feet past that.
Okay,
Is what we're buying.
okay.
Any other questions, Commissioner?
I think it'll be a fine idea.
Yeah, and we want to wish you good luck on your expansion. I know you're having some handicap issues there with some of your members, and so hopefully you can get that taken care of in the next few years. And
Make donations, that'll help.
okay, thanks, Gary. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak for or against this? If not, could I have a motion?
I move we adopt resolution R-88-14.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number R-88-14. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Commissioner Martin,
Aye.
Commissioner Terry,
Aye.
Mayor Fest.
Aye. Resolution number R-88-14 has been adopted. This brings us to our portion of the meeting where we offer public comment. And anyone in the audience that would like to address the commission, come forward, state your name and address and your comments.
Good evening, Jeff Lang, 9586 North State Route 66. I would like to take a few moments to tell you about our 11th annual clean sweep of the Great Miami River, which took place on July 19th last month. And want to tell you some of the specifics. We had 120 folks out there on that Saturday morning, and 32 canoes, and 5 pickup trucks, a crane truck, the police department's four-wheeler and trailer, and a lot of elbow grease and backbone. And we pulled out 9,680 pounds of trash, including 118 tires. This is about 700 pounds less than last year, and this is the first time ever in PAL's history of the clean sweep that we've put 2 years in a row on a downward turn of collected trash, so I'm extremely happy about that. But still, 9,680 pounds is way too much. Most of it is up on our A team, the first 4 miles of our adopted 16 miles of the river, and they had close to 3,700 pounds. That is all collected before the I-75 bridge and from the roadside park across from the cemetery, just south of the Big 4 bridge. The B team, the next 4 miles, only had 760 pounds. The C team from Piqua Lockington Road down to the low dam for the Piqua water plant draw-off had 640, and 900 pounds, and then we had approximately 2,000 pounds with the weight of the tires down there behind Bennett School, the last 4 or 5 miles going through the city of Piqua. I would be remiss if I didn't thank our main sponsor, Cargill Incorporated, thank our major sponsors, Atlanta Sportswear, Miami Conservancy District, Cox Media Group, Ohio, American Rivers, the City of Sydney, Butler County Stormwater District, and Honda American Motors in Troy. I also would like to thank the PAL section sponsors, which include the Piqua Community Foundation, Jackson Tube Service, Hartsel Propeller, Salon Marchi Day Spa, the Piqua Rotary Club, Piqua Steel, Miami County Foundation, Barrett Paving Materials, Valvoline, the Rich Donnelly Foundation, Swift Run Farms, Ashland Inc., Andy's Garden, Scott Family McDonald's, Walmart and Piqua, Unity National Bank, the Community Foundation of Shelby County, French Oil Mill and Machinery Company, the City of Piqua. A special thanks to the Street Department and the Police Department. The Street Department for allowing us to use some of their safety cones and signs, and the Police Department for a volunteer, a VIP, coming out and helping us that day, keeping our walkers safe and our canoers safe through town. Direct Digital Media, and also American Honda Motors in Troy. Food and drink for our group and 120 people is a big task to feed and keep hydrated. Dobo's Delights for a little bit of sugar energy before you hit the river. Papa John's and Piqua, Domino's, and extra pizzas from Domino's when they sort of mobbed the D team behind Bennett School with a lot of extra kids that really weren't part of the suite but were hungry. So special thanks to Domino's. East of Chicago, Pizza Hut, Beppo Uno's, Rally's, Lee's Chicken, Subway at Sunset and Covington, the Subway at Walmart, Kroger, the Walmart in Piqua, the store donated a lot of soft drinks, Quick and Cold on South Street for drinks, Albrecht's IGA, and Ace Hardware for some needed gear. And prizes for all of our volunteers from Crazy Martins, Sunset Meats, AutoZone, Wilson Memorial Hospital, who donated almost everybody got something from Wilson Memorial Hospital. We really appreciate them. Scott Family McDonald's, and our local Dairy Queen. And a special thanks to all of our volunteers. Without this, none of this would happen. None of these pounds, none of these tires would have gotten off the river. And they really do bust their chops to get out there and clean up this local water. And it's so beautiful to everybody. They're all passionate about it, just like I am. I'd also like to take a moment to thank the City Waterworks for cutting the levees all along the Piqua Hydraulic Canal, Frantz Pond, Echo Lake, and Swift Run, and cutting back the locks behind the water plant. If you haven't been on the bike path lately behind the existing water plant, the lock where the gate is has all been cut back on the west side. It looks very nice. That's so Don Freisteller and his crew can throttle those bypass valves on that lock gate, and also the removal of all the aquatic weeds on Frantz Pond and Echo Lake and in the hydraulic canal. Thanks to the City Street Department for putting up new handrails and fencings and the pass-through for fishing area along the Great Miami River and Riverside Drive. Also a nice job by all of the groups associated with keeping our parks nice and clean. It's beautiful. Everybody ought to be out enjoying our parks. I also applaud the City of Piqua for being a member of the Ohio's Great Corridor. As Stan Cagley had said as our chairman of our group down at the River Summit back in March, the economic development potential of Piqua's proximity to the Great Miami River is boundless. A study was done by the Ohio Industry Association, said the recreational opportunities in the state of Ohio bring 196,000 jobs, $17.4 billion in consumer spending each year, and $1.3 billion in state and local revenue. I don't see any reason why Piqua shouldn't have a real good share of that, because we do have a beautiful area. And lastly, I'd like to say thanks to Positively Promoting Piqua, the City of Piqua, and all the great sponsors for the 3 great concerts down at Lock 9 this summer. I thought they were great and good music and good to see a great turnout. I would like to invite all the commissioners, all the heads of all the departments to mark their calendar for the 3rd Saturday of July of 2015, because I would like all of you to come out and participate in the POW section of the Clean Sweep. I know you got some dirty clothes around somewhere, some junky clothes, some old shoes. Ask Commissioner Wilson. He'll tell you all about it. He's been there every year. Thank you, Joe. And also, remember, if you pack it in, you pack it out in our parks, on our waters, on our bike path, and anywhere. Please make sure you clean up after yourself. That's it. Thank you very much.
Jeff, again, we want to thank you for your leadership of POW. You know, if it weren't for you, we would have. I'm curious, do you have a total number for 11 years of what What you've taken out of the river?
11 years, it's 144,000 pounds and 1,260 some tires.
That's amazing. People, I know it's difficult to get rid of your tires, but for heaven's sakes, don't throw them in the river. That's not what the river's there for. And we want to start really utilizing and focusing on the river and the opportunities that are
Absolutely.
there for us to use that, like the concerts this summer. And Jeff, you're a big part of all that because you have started this and you have gotten those volunteers out there and they just work their tails off. I know they do because I've seen lots of pictures. And Joe, congratulations, you're a great commissioner. Let me say that.
I tell you what, those tires to put in a canoe, it's kind of tricky.
I would imagine I'd probably be in the water.
Well, they're not only wet, but they're filled with mud, and you have to figure out how to get the mud out before you can put them in your canoe, and there's always some in there.
Well, maybe you can teach me next year. I'll
Well,
try.
you'll need some Advil, I'll tell you.
Well, anyway, the job that POW does is just absolutely amazing, Jeff. And as I said before, without your leadership, that wouldn't happen. So all of the people that you thanked, we want to thank them as well as the city commission and on behalf of the citizens of the city of Piqua. It's amazing how many restaurants contribute, how many companies contribute. It's amazing. And so we know that that's all a lot of work, and without you, it wouldn't happen. So thank you, Jeff.
You're
We
very
appreciate your efforts so much.
You're very welcome, and I talked with Gary, and Gary's going to try to get some signage out there along the river that acknowledges the great efforts of the PAL volunteers.
Wonderful.
Because my hat's off to them. I couldn't do it without them.
Oh,
and they're all very
absolutely, but you
passionate
have to
about
have
it.
a leader out there to make them come. So,
All right.
for all the volunteers and yourself, congratulations on another job well done.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Mr. Felver.
I live at 529 Park Avenue. Since I'm here, I'd like to make a public safety announcement. Most of you know 8 years ago I lost a great nephew to child abuse. Like any single mother out there to think more of their child than their boyfriend. There's been 2 other children killed in this town since then, and it's because a boyfriend was watching the child. There's probably no single parents, mothers watching today, but grandparents need to get a hold of your kids and let them know their child is more important than your love life. And if you haven't seen your grandchild, make a unexplained or visit without letting them know and check on your grandchild. If you're used to seeing them and you don't see them for 2 or 3 weeks, go check on them, because it's senseless for a child to die because you worried more about your love life than about your child. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. I know that was a tragic and sad event with your nephew, and that's a great message to send out to those people who are here in the community. So thank you very much. At this point, we'll go to the city manager's report.
Thank you very much. I wanted to make some comments tonight regarding the algae bloom situation that the city of Toledo faced this past weekend. As you know, they were completely without water as a result of this situation. In Piqua, we do have a water source. Our water source is surface water, and we are at risk of that situation also. But I wanted to share with you tonight that a couple things that really enable us to have control over that. One is that during the months of between May and October, our water source we pull from the quarry and the river, so that we're not pulling from the lakes, which have much more tendency to receive nutrients and create the algae. So we help alleviate a lot of the chance of that occurring. We also do periodic testing and for this particular contaminant, and every 2 weeks we're going to be testing during the summer just to watch for that. So we go to quite extreme regards to watch for that particular situation. The good news is that with the construction of our new water treatment plant, we will be able to treat that, so that's never an issue. So that's the great thing about having the new technology and all that. I thought I'd share that with you tonight because I know there's probably questions regarding how did that situation happen and so forth, but unfortunately the algae bloom got sucked into their water treatment plant, and they ended up having to flush that plant, and that's why there was no water available at the time. So we're watching that very closely, and again, with being able to pull the water from the quarry and the river, it's very less likely for that to happen. It is something that's visible, you can see visibly, and of course that we watch for that also. But I wanted to share that with you tonight so you know what we were doing in that regard. We will be attending the Healthiest Employer Award Ceremony on Thursday at Sinclair Community College to receive our third consecutive Healthiest Employer Award. That's three consecutive years. Excuse me. So we're proud of that and want to make sure that we have representatives there, and we'll be down there to do that this week. The City of Piqua is currently featured on the front page of the Ohio Planners newsletter for being recognized as a national leader in complete streets. That newsletter was passed on to me today, and very nice article and information about the work that's been done here in Piqua, and we're very proud of that also. Finally, I'd like to congratulate our own city employee Ben Gover for winning the Echo Hills Golf Course Club Championship this past weekend. And Ben's a pretty good golfer, and besides being a good landscaper. So he was only 1 over par for 36 holes. That's pretty good. So I played in the tournament also. I won't report my score at this point.
I didn't see your picture in the paper, Gary.
No, that probably wasn't worth putting it in there. So, but I had a great time. It's a great tournament, and went really well. It was a lot of fun. So that's all I have. Be happy to answer any questions you might have tonight.
Yeah, on that algae bloom, Gary, somebody told me that if you boil it, it makes it more toxic. Is that true?
My understanding is it makes it worse, yes.
Yeah, I heard that too.
I'm not the expert, but that's what I did hear. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary. We might mention, too, that I received a certificate this week that for the Playful City, you want to
Yeah, our
address
Playful
that?
City USA certification. I think that this is our second or third year of receiving that certification, too. That certification enabled us to receive a $20,000 grant for the handicap playground that's currently out for bid and will be installed at Pittsburgher Park this fall.
Thank you. Let's start with Commissioner Wilson tonight.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the POW Day. That was a lot of fun, Jeff. You make it really easy for us. We show up, everything's there. We get a donut, and we push off. And if you're interested in doing it next year, you can either go in a canoe or walk it. So you've got the options there. But the canoeing is more fun because it's beautiful out there, and it's a lot of fun. You do need an Advil at the end, maybe 2, but that's okay. But it's a lot of fun, even though it's a lot of work, and the tires are definitely heavy. Second thing is on the Rock Piqua concerts, all 3 of them were great. The last 2 in particular really got the crowds going once people heard about the first one, I think. And I'm looking forward to next year to hopefully have more than 3. And I didn't hear a single bad word there at all. So that was a great event for this year. And on the Residents' Pride Award, I was glad to see Chad and Lisa Emery here. They've always taken a good interest in their yard, and I think it's hereditary because his parents, they could win it every year, except it wouldn't be fair. I mean, they've always got a great place, so I'm sure that was in his genes. So I was glad to see him win that.
That'd be on the corner of Caldwell and Park.
Yeah.
Don Emery, who was a former commissioner.
Yeah, and he always has beautiful property. So I liked all the properties that were listed, but Chad in particular, I know him a little better, so I was glad to see him win that. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Terry.
Gosh, everybody has stolen my thunder. I was just going to talk about the Community Pride winners also, and Chad and Lisa, and it's true, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. They do a really good job, and his dad, like Joe said, has always taken good care of their property, and that whole block of Washington Avenue is really lovely. It's really been taken care of, and I'm glad to see it. The whole of Washington Avenue is really improved, I think, and efforts of people like Chad and Lisa, they inspire the neighbors. A little bit of that inspires neighbors to get out and trim their bushes and plant a couple of colored flowers and just really make the neighborhood look better. It doesn't take much, And that's what's so sad when we hear about all this lack of interest with the grass cutting that we have to do. Also, I was also going to congratulate our friend Benny Gover, who's a good friend of mine, and for winning the Echo Hills Championship. And I'm always proud to see what he does. And I have to also congratulate the street department. We rode the bike path the other evening, and the bike path is looking great. It's trimmed. Like Jeff said, it's been the fencing has been repaired along the riverside area. There's signage that says this is a fishing area. The signage has been updated. Also, like he said, I was also going to say that the hills in Fountain Park look great, and you can really get a good appreciation of what a nice park we have there. And I also have to say that 4 of the 5 winners are from the 4th Ward, so I'm just really, really proud of everybody in the 4th Ward who takes good care of their property. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Martin.
Well, everybody's pretty much said everything, but I'd like to congratulate Powell and everybody that helps them. And hopefully, since you've had 2 years of downward trends of amount, hopefully that's people have quit throwing it in the river. But that's a good thing. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Vogt.
Well, congratulations to the Resident Pride winners. We need people like that to keep the neighborhoods looking nice. Jeff, thanks again for your trip down the river. Gee whiz, I don't know what we're going to do when we run out of junk. You're going to have another project. Never ending. Okay. I've been getting some phone calls, and one of the phone calls I had last week was, what about this blank blank water runoff fee that we have to pay? What is it for? I said, it's the stormwater runoff, and I said, it's to maintain the storm sewers. And by the way, do you blow your grass in the street? Sometimes. I said, well, that's why we need the thing, because you are clogging up our sewers, and if we hadn't been doing that over the years, they would be in much better shape than they are now. So please, when you mow your grass on the curb lawn or your yard, run your mower the opposite way and blow it back in the yard. That's all you have to do. It's not rocket science. You know, your blower blows to your right. Well, push your mower the other way so it blows to the right back into your yard. So that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Commissioner. Really, other than repeating what everyone has said, Rock Pickle was wonderful. All 3 concerts were great. Lots of people there. I think probably 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We probably had about 8,000 people, 8,000 altogether, I think, for the 3 concerts. And that's really amazing for the first year. So I want to thank all the people who worked on that committee. They did an outstanding job. And we're just so fortunate in this city to have so many volunteers that work so hard to make it a better place. Jeff, again, your leadership, the 120 volunteers, all the work that they do, you know, just makes us a better place. Other than that, I think that the Resident Pride Award winners, want to thank them again. And with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.